Good evening and welcome back to Tvsn. And boy, do we have a show for you tonight. My name's Emma Grant and it is my pleasure to be presenting the next hour for you because we are bringing you the Nikon D610. Now, this is called a prosumer camera because when you read all the reviews out there on the interwebs, you will see that this is a camera that is changing what people expect from a DSLR. Now, of course, when we look at cameras, we look at the point and shoot. The next step up from that has often been the bridge camera, where you've got a lot of capabilities, but you have a little bit of a compromise. Then we move into the DSLR. Now, it can feel a little bit like you're jumping into the deep end of the pool, but what you've got in the camera tonight is a camera that lets you have it all. You've got your auto functions, you've got your scene modes, you've got creative filters, and when you want to go under the hood, you've got technology that is going to really mean the sky is the limit for your photography. This is actually a camera that many female wedding photographers are using in their professional work. Now, I mentioned female because it is the lightest, most compact digital SLR camera, full frame sensor too, by the way, and what that means for you: clarity of images, lots and lots of detail in here for you as well, but really portable, easy to use, easy to hold with one hand as well. Tonight's show is going to be a cracker. We've got lots of photos to be sharing with you. I've done a little bit of shooting over the last few days as well. I've done some of the time lapse, we've done some of the creative filters, but I promise you all the photos I'm showing you tonight that I've done on the auto mode. So whether you're a hobbyist kind of photographer, you want to take that next step, maybe you're actually a professional, maybe you're doing things like the wedding photography, baby photographs as well, and you want a camera that's going to be able to capture those beautiful details, the depth of field to bring out the person that you're photographing, this camera will do it for you. But if you're like me and maybe you're just taking that little step into the DSLR territory, you need to know it is so popular because of its auto functions, because of the ease of use. It makes it really for you and I to be able to get it out of the box, start snapping and fall in love with the world around us. Now, tonight we've got a great deal. Let's give you the details. And now remember, you can shop on the website and read all the specs there too, tvsn.com.au. You can also call 13 23 10. Now, the bundle we've got for you tonight, the D610, which is the digital SLR camera with the lens, which is 24 to 85 mils, as a kit there. Now, you're also getting, of course, there's a built-in flash, you're getting the straps. There's also GPS function in here too. 46973 is your item number, and what we love, there are 8 months of part payments. So it does mean interest-free from our end here at TVSN, and it also means that you have your 30-day money-back guarantee, which means you get to get your baby home. You actually get to try it out and have a little 30-day love affair, and then make your decision about whether you're going to hang on to it. Let's talk about questions though, because we're live, we're interactive, and that's one of the reasons that so many of you love shopping, particularly for something like a Nikon here at TVSN, because you not only get the 30-day money-back guarantee, the interest-free part payments, but our guest, Tim, who is coming to us from Nikon tonight, he's live in the studio, so you're also getting a 53-minute live, really kind of bespoke tutorial. So any questions you might have about this camera, if there's a particular function, or there's a particular, maybe a holiday that's coming up, maybe you've got a particular hobby like bird watching, nature photography. For me, it's the stars and the moon. If there's something that you'd like to achieve with this camera and you'd like to know how to do it, you're going to email Tim. Now, Jo's our producer. Her email address tonight, producer@tvsn.com.au. That'll come through to us here on set. We'll endeavour to answer as many questions as we can within the hour as well. But first, let's meet our guest direct from Nikon. It's one and only Tim. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Like your shirt.
I know. Well, there was some criticism levelled that I wasn't bringing enough colour to the set, so
Whoa,
purple it is. And together,
I know.
I think we're doing well.
I don't know who would have been criticising you, but I'm a fan of the
purple rocks it, so we're rocking the purple tonight.
Hey, Tim, look, let's talk a little bit about, well, firstly Nikon, but also how you're involved with Nikon as well. So
I'm just starting my 6th year with Nikon now.
Yep.
And it's very fortunate because I've been at Nikon for the real boom times where the technology has really just leapt forward in so many leaps and bounds. And this camera is absolutely an epitome of that leap. This camera is the 2nd generation of these affordable full-frame SLRs.
Right.
Now, full-frame SLR for people at home means that the sensor inside this, the eye that records the image, is the same size as what we would have shot if we had a shot on film, 10 years ago. So we're back to the same size recording image. Up until now, most of our digital SLRs have had a slightly smaller sensor, which has limited us in a bit of the sort of the creative effects we used to have in film. So we haven't had the depth of field, we haven't had the full wide angles. Those options have been available, they've just been out of the reach of most.
Right.
But this camera, well, the predecessor of the camera, the D600, this is now the 2nd generation, the D610, really democratize that and drag the price right down. So in one generation, they basically halved the price of what these cameras would usually be worth.
Isn't that incredible?
So
the technology that we've got here tonight, and one thing we should also talk about too, you mentioned just the last sort of 10 years as being a big leap in the technology, but Nikon itself has always been at the forefront of technology.
Well, they have. I mean,
imaging, graphics, I mean, in terms of...
imaging, graphics, optics, glass.
Optics, yes.
That's where it is. But even back in the film days, there was so many firsts that Nikon does.
Right.
It was first in the world to do this, first in the world to do that. They were first in the world to put, you know, HD video into the digital SLR. They've just done it so well. And this particular camera is such a great little workhorse. I mean, it's not under-spec'd in any way.
Right, so there's no compromise.
There's no compromises in this camera.
Okay.
The changes you make to this camera are about the directions you want to take it. So if you want to make the camera bigger, you can put an extra grip on it. If you want to make the flash stronger, you can put an extra flash on it. Obviously, it's an interchangeable camera, so you put any lens on there that works with what you want to take photos of. Because it's a full-frame sensor, it'll take all of our full-frame lenses today, all of our smaller lenses off our crop frame cameras today. It'll also take all the full-frame film lenses right back to 1959.
So if you've got a favourite lens that you love to shoot with, you know, if you've got a particular kind of niche that you love to take photos of, you could actually use those vintage lenses with this camera. So you've got all the technology of the modern day camera, but maybe a beautiful image that you love with that particular lens.
Great, and every lens is like a person. They all have a little personality, they all have little nuances about them. And there's some lenses in the old film days which just aren't made in digital SLR anymore.
Right.
And some of them can be quite expensive, but some of them are very affordable. But that flexibility, being able to reach back into history and pull out old lenses and use them on a camera like this is just so liberating.
Do you know what? Shall we go through the specs? Because I think, you know, if you're into your facts and your figures, you're going to see this and realise how it stacks up. Now, one of the features that now I think we almost kind of expect our cameras to be able to do full HD video recording. 30p, what does 30p mean?
So this is 1080, so it's 1080p, so it's full Blu-ray quality at 30 frames a second. And you can do it at a 1:1, so you can do it at what we call FX, which is the full ratio, or you can do it at DX, which gives you 50% closer to the action. But without loss of resolution.
Great, so you're not getting blurry things as you zoom in.
Because the camera is shooting at 12 times higher the resolution of normal television.
What?
Well, actually,
really?
It's 12 times higher the resolution of high definition television.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So high definition television is equivalent to a 2K image, and the sensor in this is 24.
Wow. Okay, I'm starting to see how it's stacking up. Let's go back to the specs so we can have a look at that too. Comprehensive audio controls, including, you may have seen on our little tour around it just then, a dedicated stereo headphone jack. Now that's going to mean, of course, even if you're going to do something like a short film, you're getting that true feedback of the sound while you're filming. Not to mention, of course, capturing the sound in that stereo as well. Watching simultaneous live view output on external monitors, recording uncompressed video via HDMI. So what does that mean in terms of how we use this? What's that going to allow us to do?
So all these feature specs we've got on this slide here are all about the other half of the equation in this camera, the video side of the equation. So this is as much a high definition video recording rig for personal memories or broadcast quality as it is a camera.
So it's not a me too?
No.
You know, it's not that sense. Sometimes with a camera, you go, oh, it's primarily a camera. Oh, and you can do a little bit of video.
Yeah, no.
You're
on this
saying
one, it's
this is like they're neck and neck.
There's documentary, like there's international film organisations of three-letter acronyms that you would know at home that are shooting on these cameras in the field in Bosnia and Tanzania and those sorts of places. We had a team come back from Afghanistan who had 3 of these cameras. That's what they take.
Because this is, I mean, look, with this and the lens together, as opposed to a super long lens or perhaps, you know, an even bigger, what do you call this bit?
The body.
The body, thank you. I just lost my words, thank you. This is, I mean, you can imagine for photojournalists, this is going to be so much easier to get around. Now, I took the lens off so you can see the size of the sensor here. Tell me about this.
The sensor in there is huge. So it's a full 35mm sensor. And we'll see that in a couple of photos later. But what we're looking at is we're looking at beautiful subtle colour gradients across skin tones, vibrant colours in birds or in plumage or in purple shirts that might be on TV or whatever the case are. You're going to get that. But you're also going to get these really soft backgrounds to really help separate the subject from the background. Yeah. We see it all the time in professional photography, but that's what this is, a professional photographer's camera.
So rather than being black, white and grey in the middle, you've actually got, you know, instead of the 3 colours, there's I can't even imagine how many.
Just
10, 20,
infinite.
30. So the subtleties and nuances in the colours, which is what we're seeing as well, right? You know, in fact, some of the photos that I want to share with you tonight, the sunrise that we took some photos of, it's, you know, those moments where you've got a camera and you see an incredible moment, like a sunset, like a sunrise, and I bring those up because they're particularly, well, notoriously difficult to capture, actually. You'll see those flaring reds, and when we take the photo, it looks a bit grey or blue, or it's duller. What I've noticed with this is that you get the colours that my eye was seeing as well.
That's right.
So you're saying it's because of the complexity of that sensor, the amount of information it's receiving.
That comes out from the complexity of multiple systems. You touched at the top of the hour that there's so much under the hood.
Yeah.
Technically, you've got a great sensor, but that's the last step. That's, oh, I'm going to record the image now. You've got to configure the camera before you actually take the image to make sure the image you get is right.
Okay.
So what Nikon has is the world's most advanced autofocus engine. So whatever we're going to shoot, it's going to be in focus. The world's most advanced metering system. So when it looks out, it's using a 2000 point full colour RGB matrix metering system, which means it's looking at the world in full colour and in the way you and I do. So it can identify subjects. It does it in 3 dimensions. So it can actually say, oh, this person's ahead of the background, so that must be my subject. And that's a face, so I'm going to focus on that.
Wow.
And then it takes all this information from the autofocus and from the metering system, feeds it into a special processor inside the camera, which is separate to its image processor, called the scene recognition system. In the scene recognition system, there's 40,000 reference images. And those 40,000 reference images are planet Earth in 40,000 images. So it's every photo you're likely to take.
If I was to focus it on a flower, it would recognise that that was a flower I was trying to take a photo of. Or a person would be a different requirement again, or the stars, or the landscape. The intelligence that you've got here, this is where, look, certainly you've got the complexity of a DSLR, the sophistication of the system, but this is also where, for you, getting out of the box, if you want to sit it on auto and just let it work its magic, it's going to do that for you too. Let's come back to the graphic, to the little specs we've got here. Now, the time-lapse photography is something I had a little play with this week, and I just want more time with it. I just want to be able to, all the things now I'm thinking, I've got these ideas of things that I'd love to film with the time-lapse. Simple menu operations. Now, I basically opened up the manual, I looked at one page on time-lapse, I went, oh, okay, I want to shoot, want to take a photo every 10 seconds for maybe, you know, 10 minutes, and I set that, and then I basically walked away, made a cup of tea, came back, and it was done for me. Like, it's that easy. But we've got more specs coming your way. Now, let's talk about the megapixels. So 24.3 million pixels. I always feel like Dr. Evil when I say things like that.
24
million pixels. The FX format CMOS sensor, which is what we've just been looking at. You've also got the XP 3 image processor with an ISO range of 100 to 6400, which is then expandable to allow it to go up to 25,000. Please explain.
So this is just how much light do I need to make a proper exposure. So
because I remember when we had the film cameras, my camera had a switch. You'd either shoot with 100 ISO, or if it was very fast, you'd go to 400.
But you had to take the film out to do it.
Yes, you had to get different films.
You have to get different film, and then you tell the camera
Yeah.
that I'm on 400. But smart film cameras, when you put the different canister in, they had a little barcode and they'd read it, so they could switch on.
I didn't have a smart one. But now we're going to, you're saying this can go to over 25,000.
That's right.
So what does that mean in terms of the shots we're getting?
It means if you put it in full auto and you've got it in scene, what you can do is walk into a dark environment, the camera will use its scene recognition system and all the other tools it has, and instead of using the flash or having a really, really long shutter time so that it's asking you to stand perfectly still and everyone around you for the next 30 seconds, it'll speed up how fast it records, and so you can still shoot without a flash and at a reasonably short shutter time and get a really clean image. So the bigger that number, the better it is all round. There's no negatives to that number.
Great. So over 25,000. 1000. All right, let's keep going. You've got the glass prism optical viewfinder. Of course, we know that Nikon specialises in the optics there, covering approximately 100% of the image. So what we're seeing in the optical viewfinder is what the camera's seeing, correct? Yep. Great. 39 strategically placed focus points, as Tim was mentioning, so it can reference what it's seeing in the screen and create focus points depending on where your subjects are. 9 powerful cross-type focus sensors in the centre, so even more accuracy brought in when light and contrast are low, i.e. sunset, i.e. dusk, i.e. twilight, those cold sunrise, those kind of moments as well. Or even if you're shooting, maybe you're inside it, something like a museum. Yep. And you can't shoot with a flash and it's quite low light, maybe it's or even I'm thinking a dinner party where there's candles around. You want to be able to capture that beautiful glow on people's faces. But what so often happens at the dinner parties, you go to take the photo, the flash booms, everyone looks like rabbits in the headlights, and then the whole ambience and that beautiful warmth of that night is completely blown away by the camera. And
that's where this sort of thing comes in great. We've got full auto. So if you put it in full auto, it'll do its best to take a great shot. In that sort of situation, it'll probably go for a flash. But you don't want a flash, you want to make it nice and warm. So we switch to those automated scene modes, we scroll through till we get candlelight, and in candlelight the camera will just go, oh well, I'll just use my ISO, I'll capture all that nice warm reds and those yellows and those oranges, and that'll be preserved, that'll be lovely. So giving the camera a little bit more about your strategic creative desire.
About the information. So you're going, look, this is, you can be creative director of your own moments. This is what I want people's faces to look warm and soft, and it will actually
So you're the director of photography, not the actual photographer in that instance.
So they go, yep, got you boss, I'm on it, I'm on it. Now we have got some questions coming in, but before that we need to give you an update because we've already lost a couple. 46973 is your item number tonight. It's the Nikon D610 DSLR camera with your 24 to 85mm lens kit there. $28.99 today. Now you're already saving $600, but remember, you've got your interest-free part payments. This is the way to get this home. Now, we are talking about what you're getting in the pack. Let's have a look at this. So the lens, as I mentioned, 24 to 85mm lens. You've got the shoe cover there as well, which is for the, is that for the flash? That's what we're talking about?
It sits up there, yep.
Okay.
Bit of weatherproofing.
Or a mic, is that where the mic would go
A mic would sit on there as well.
That. We do have the mics on the website, by the way. You might like to add that if you're going to do something like a short film. The rubber eye cup too, which is removable. I actually moved that to do the Starlight the other night. Monitor cover, you've got the body cap. You're also getting the battery and the battery charger. Plus, I believe there's also a USB connector as well, so you can hook it up to your computer if you want to do that too. However, it does have an SD card. In actual fact, can we talk about this because this is really cool? It's got 2 SD cards.
2 SD cards in there.
Why?
Because as you mentioned at the top of the hour, this is a prosumer camera. So it's a consumer camera, but it's also equally at home as a professional camera.
Right.
So as a professional camera, we want a couple of things in there. We want a bit of protection, so we want a bit of redundancy. Got redundancy in here, so I can put in 2 SD cards and write my photos or my videos out to both cards simultaneously.
Ah, okay, so if you want a little backup.
Want a backup in camera.
We always want insurance, don't we, with our photos
Or alternatively, say I'm going to a 3-month trip through Europe.
Yep.
I don't want to take anything out of the camera. I put 2 cards in there and I never open it up. And it fills up the first card, then the second one.
Okay.
Or maybe I want to split my workflow and I want to have photos on one and videos on another.
Oh, that's clever.
You can do that.
Wow. Hey, can we have a look at, can I show you some of the photos that we did the other night? Because we kind of want to show you how easy it is to do. And when it comes to doing things easily, I'm your girl for that. So all of the photos I want to show you, we shot on auto, got it out of the box, it was charged up, I put it onto auto. A couple of them I changed to scene mode when I shot photos of the stars. So Tim, you've got the remote. Can you do
got the remote
your magic
here, so
thing?
we're going to get this
and we'll see if we can get the photos geared up. But let's give you the details as well. Now, of course, tonight with the bundle, it is the 46973 is your item number here. Now, again, tonight with the 24 to 85mm lens, and that's also what I've done with all of these photos too. So this is about making it easy for you, $28.99. Now, I was talking about sunrise and sunset, and it's those colours, isn't it? It's about capturing, particularly because sunrise is that amazing moment where you get fiery oranges and then you still have the cool blues and greys of that sort of dawn moment. What I was amazed by, this was actually, I didn't even put it on a scene mode, this was completely on auto, but I love that there was a rich orange and there was these cool kind of contrasting blues. And even then the white lights of the street lights below there were really kind of crisp and clear for you too. All right, so again, incredible colours to this too, like the clouds. Look at that.
It almost looks like it's shot upside down and this is water.
Doesn't it?
That bubbling water.
Yeah, that's right. I want to move on though to the night before was when I went like that, the colours, look at that.
Bouncing off the clouds.
Isn't that crazy?
And the highlights around these ones. It's just great.
And so I was up on a rooftop with my hot cup of tea. Now this is this was a time-lapse video, and this was something that I wanted to try because, so basically, by setting up the time-lapse, I told the camera that I wanted to take a photo I think I did it every minute for the next 20 minutes. And what it actually did was to put together a little video for me. So it took all of the photos, I made my cup of tea, came back up, and it basically said press OK to watch the movie. Now it's a little bit jittery because there was a high wind. Obviously you can see it was by the coast. So the cameras moved slightly on the tripod, but this was how easy it was. So let me press play and we can have a little look at it. So this is as moonrise is coming up there. Oh, did we miss that? We might have to go to a slightly wider shot so we can see it. There we go. The moon's moving up through the top of the sky, and you can see it's getting darker there too.
This is the experience that digital photography is, though. This is what's great. So you go out the first time and you go, well, that was 80% of what I wanted.
Yeah.
How do I figure out the next 5%?
Right.
How do I do the next 5%?
Because now I want to be up there. I want it for an hour. I want to get it from the moment it gets to dusk to watch it go right the way up the sky.
That's right. And then so what you do is you go, okay, I'll set my exposure a bit lower and do these things. Because every time you press the button, it's free.
Right.
It's digital.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's not like the old film days and those sorts of things. So you can play. And to have a tool like the D610 where you get on the web, you talk to a friend, you go to a seminar, you go to a school, you buy a book, you get a video, you get a DVD, you run into a technique.
Right.
Whether that technique be a Photoshop technique or a HDR, or whether it's time-lapse or videos or stills or whatever, there's no technique you can't do on a D610.
Right. So we're not losing anything with this. We can do time-lapse, we can do creative filters, we can then get more into the manual settings as well.
It has bracketing, it has off-camera flash, so you can do creative lighting. So there's nothing it can't do. It's just so much of it is automatic, but then breaking the rules is the fun of photography.
Well, that's what I'm good at. So this was the next thing that I wanted to have a play with, which is the interval photos. So basically, once I'd done my little clip of my movie, I wanted to take a photo every minute, again, for the next 10 minutes, or I think 12 minutes I did, and it gave me a series of shots. And there's some famous photos, you would have seen them, of a moon rising over a city where they've actually compiled them together. So you've got like 10 different moons and you see it change colour. Also, you know, there's all sorts of fun stuff you can do. But I wanted to show you how, and so basically, again, I set it and forget it. And of course, it was a slightly hazy night. I would play around a little bit, you know, if I had more time with it. But you can see, and even things like satellites, and as it starts to move up there for you too. And then this one, if I go back for a sec, this was actually my little play this was the start of the moon and this was one of the last shots. So how you could actually overlay them, and you know, if I'd done it all night, I could have actually had 10, 12 moons rising above the water. Now, of course, it's a little bit fuzzy there, but again, that was me just shooting on auto, so it's a little bit of fun. But can I show you this? So this was the stars. And all I did was on the scene mode, I set it, or I might just step back a little bit, shall I, to get out of the way. There we go. On the scene mode, I set it to night
landscape?
Night landscape.
Night landscape.
That's what I did. And all of a sudden, stars that I couldn't even see with my naked eye were arriving in the photos, which was what just blew me away.
Because the camera can see better in the dark than your eye can.
So much better.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, clearly. And then look at this, like just incredible. Now, obviously, you're seeing it through a television, so the quality's a little bit disrupted there, but I was just, and the colours of the stars, there's reds and blues. And
as you said, this is shot in Sydney with light pollution and smog and all those sorts of things.
There was actually a light just down here beneath the aerials. So this was just extraordinary. And then I decided to do the time lapse. So this is where now, again, I wish I'd done this for an hour because you can see the stars moving slowly, but I would have loved to have seen, or even 4 hours, 6 hours, to see them moving even more quickly. Let me show you though. You'll watch them move very slowly. See how they're drifting across the night sky? Now that again was set and forget. I set it for half an hour to take a photo every minute for half an hour. Went downstairs, it was cold, made another cup of tea, came back up, and it's firstly you're seeing things that don't exist to my eyes. So the wonder of the world that's out there was extraordinary.
Well, you and I have to see everything in real time.
Right.
You can't slow time down or speed time up.
So you might look up at the stars and then half an hour later you go, oh, it's moved a bit. But to actually see them like drifting like that, look at that.
You're playing with time. So you can speed up time, you can compress time, you can slow time around, you can record more light than you would in usually a blink of an eye. So you've got that complete flexibility in photography. And now that we're back to a full frame sensor, as opposed to the crop sensor. All the little tricks and nuances from the old days are now back in the ball game. So it's
all
really
that detail,
fun. Yeah.
all those stars. Now we've got lots of images to show you. We've got lots of questions coming in though too. So shall we move to that? We've got a question from Adrian. Hi Adrian. He would like to know what is the difference between this camera and the D5300. You
okay,
right?
yeah, no, that's right. I was going to change this, but I'll answer that one question.
Sure.
So sensor is the big one.
Okay.
So first of all, the D5300s are like a really great sort of super powerful consumer camera, has a flippy screen on it and those sorts of things, but it's still a crop frame sensor, and it has some other things which are consumer centric, but it doesn't have all of the professional features that this camera has. So if you like, this camera goes further up the range. But the really big difference is, once again, coming back to that sensor. The sensor is everything about this camera. So just to put it in perspective for those at home, I'll get out my sensors I usually have. Here's
one he prepared earlier.
This is my sensor, which is what we find in a compact, in a compact, you know, little point and shoot. Then what Nikon does is it makes this sensor here, and this is the sensor out of the Nikon 1 series. So it's about 4 times the size of this one. But it shoots about 60 times faster. So that's it's all about speed, that one. Now, if I put that sensor, I'll put the small one down because we're going up. This is the sensor, which is the crop frame sensor. So if you like,
that's not even what we've got.
This is a small digital SLR sensor.
Wow.
Okay. Now the digital, and this is what you'll find in most digital SLRs. But what we've got in the D610 is we move up into a full 35mm sensor, and in area, it's about 2.5 times bigger again as I move across here. So it's a massive sensor inside there. So we've got 2.5 times the area recording an image that's the same resolution, which means each little pixel is bigger, which records more light. So each, what they call photo site, is more sensitive. So that means that the low light performance is significantly enhanced. Our resolution, a recording resolution, is crisper and cleaner. And the ability to shoot 2 things in particular. Wide angles is increased, just due to the nature of the way the optics run. So this camera sees much wider compared to the crop frame sensor. And the depth of field. Now, when we talk about depth of field, it's best to show demonstrations of it, so we'll do that now and we can talk about that. But realistically, we're talking about build quality, we're talking about the scope of features that are available for this camera and the size of the sensor, and that's what makes it significant. It makes it a completely different beast to the D5300 because it just produces at that professional level rather than at a enthusiast consumer level.
So for Adrian, I'm wondering if this is the Adrian that, it might be Adrian that I know on Facebook, he's into his photography. I think it's you, Adrian, and I know that he's been looking at upgrading to a DSLR. So you're saying this is the professional quality that you've got here an easy to use. You've still got the auto settings as well if you want to just have fun, grab that moment as it's there.
All the autos, the scenes, they're all exactly the same as the 5300, but there's just more horsepower under the bonnet.
Now, let's give you the details, and because we've got some photos to have a look at as well. 46973. Now, while Tim's preparing some photos, we're going to show you some that we've also got from the Nikon cameras. Now, this, you were talking about the detail in the colour, but also the depth of field. See how all of the leaves, you still get the sort of information of the context. You know that it's in the forest or the bushes somewhere, but all of that is blurred, so you allow all of the clarity of those birds to come out. The wings, the colours, the blues, incredible. The detail on the branch, for goodness sake.
And this is what so it's selective. So we've separated our focus from the background, so it's not all squished together. Wide landscapes.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh, look at that. Gosh, you feel like you're there, don't you? It's like in Mary Poppins when you step through the pavement into the pictures. OK, now, Tim, have you got some photos here ready to go?
I have. I'm ready to go on this one here.
OK, great. We might come back and have a look. I'm going to step back a little bit so you can see the telly.
All right, let's have a look. So we're talking about the D610. I talked about being at a professional level. So build quality internally, what you can't see under the hood, this is magnesium alloy top and back plates. So this is designed to take a hit. It's got weather sealing throughout, so it can be rained on, so you've got no problems there. It takes the complete range of Nikon cameras, old, new, current, DX, FX, manual focus, telephotos, you name it, it goes onto this camera. And that's why Professionals use this camera, especially female professionals, just because its size, it's small, it's light, it works. You've got everything in there. So this is a female professional photographer here in Sydney, specialises in children and babies. And these are just a couple of the shots that she's taken.
And look at this. So you've got the eyes, the beautiful face, the clothing, even the suitcase, and then the rest of it is allowing him to just come forward, to be the star of that shot.
To really make him pop.
Yeah.
So to step out, as you said, it's in situ, you know what's going on, but it's not distracting. And you just can't get that unless you've got these really giant sensors.
And do you know what? That's what our eyes do. When we're focused on someone, we ignore the surroundings, don't we? We're zoned in on that person. And so it's giving us an experience. You know, if you, like this little, oh my gosh, look at this. It's so, it tells the story, but he's the star of it.
Yep. And it's just, so you've got just behind him, just in front in focus.
Yeah, the details.
Everything else is out. Well, we're still shooting at 24 million pixels, so we've got heaps of resolution.
Yeah.
But we're selecting what we want in focus and what we don't.
Cute.
So here we've got immense amounts of details being recorded in the clothing.
Yes, the chain.
Top and bottom, but we've got nothing in the background to distract us. But we've still got beautiful shadow and skin tones across the highway.
Her eyebrows and her eyelashes, and wow.
Just really nice. Another happy one over here. Really close up. So this is shot really close, and this is shot in a studio. So this is shot with studio lighting and a big shallow depth of field,
so this
a
is
larger
a professional
lens.
photographer.
This is a professional photographer who uses
the
this
D610,
camera.
yeah.
But this is now the same camera which was shot outdoors on a 24-85 and on those sorts of similar lenses. We've now moved into a studio, added some lights to it, and we're getting this sort of things. We're still shooting on the same camera.
It's angelic.
It's just that complete scope. We can take this camera as far as we want to go. Same again.
How cute. And the vibrancy of the colours as well.
Well, and the detail up here in the ribbons, the hair. It's just fabulous, these ones. Now, these are some of the professional ones that have come out from Nikon overseas. We've talked about high ISO performance, and this is what we're looking at here. This is night. This isn't dusk, this is night, but from foreground to background, everything's in focus. So we're shooting at a low f-stop, but we've still got lots of detail coming through there. This is when you were talking about it can see better in the night than us.
Absolutely, than we can.
So here we've got the rock, a little bit of light being reflected onto the rock, but it's just the miracle of the galaxy and the universe behind it all recorded in that image.
Wow.
And this is only, I think, about a 18-second exposure.
Really?
Yeah, so it's pulling in the light really fast.
And that's because of that high ISO, is that why?
Because of a high ISO and a big sensor.
So the room for error is reduced because if you've got obviously a long shutter speed, then if it gets jolted a little bit or a little bit of wind like I had with the rooftop photos. So with this, the ISO is actually taking in that information as quickly as it can.
But then the other side, if you had to shoot this slower, then the stars would move and you'd get that star trails, which is another type of shot, and that you can do that too.
Beautiful.
But if you don't want star trails, and you want them pinpoint, well then you've got to shoot fast.
Right.
You need high ISO, you need big
So
sensors.
it can do both ends of that spectrum. It can do, you know, rushing water down a waterfall, you could open up the shutter and have that fluid kind of liquid look to it.
Yep.
Or if you want to grab something really high action, quick moving, maybe it's a sports day, maybe it's at a music concert, capturing a moment mid-air, it's going to be fast with that as well.
Exactly, and you've got that scope. Because most things can do things fast in bright light.
Yes.
It's when light starts to dip away. And it's not at night. When I say light starts to dip away, I'm talking morning or dusk or candlelight
indoor,
or night. Or just even indoor during the day, you can run into troubles.
Yeah, yeah.
So having this sort of headroom really helps push us along.
Oh, there we go. That's that liquid water that I was talking about.
So this is slightly longer exposures. And the stars are still popping out there. So we've got a bit of both happening in one shot.
Yeah.
So we're still using probably... We've got a slight bit of movement in the stars, so we're probably looking at maybe a 20-second or a 30-second exposure. And
yet the rocks are really still, there's a grounded quality. This is, you know, with this camera, I think what you're getting is a camera that captures life as we feel it. You know, because we look up at the stars and you do see ones that are twinkling and moving. It's never static. You go to the water, you never see a wave. And that's one of the frustrations. You try to take a photo of a wave and it's just mid-moment, but you don't get that grandeur of it kind of crashing against the rocks.
It's really disappointing,
with this camera, what you're getting at, to capture those feelings that we have. So whether it is maybe a little addition to your family, maybe there's a little baby or a grandbaby that's arrived and you want to capture that soft, angelic moment while they're sleeping before they wake up. You can do that very easily with this. But then also, if you want to get the beautiful, majestic landscapes, maybe you're going away somewhere or you love doing your nature photography, you could go to the Blue Mountains or to the Jenolan Caves, or, you know, maybe even to the Kimberleys in WA, and capture the vastness of the Australian landscape, and it's going to do that as equally as well as it will the little tiny fingernails in the little ones.
Exactly right. And once again, if you're out in the world and you're experiencing the world, this is not a hothouse flower of a camera.
Right. Meaning?
Meaning it can take a bump, it can get rained on, it can get misty, it can be in dust and dirt, and it's fine. Just dust it off at the end of the day and keep on shooting.
Yep. Okay.
So it's a strong, good, solid camera body. Direct into the sun. Oh,
wow.
Autofocus,
what a great
metering.
shot with the birds and the
No worries.
silhouette.
Nail
Beautiful.
that. So that's where that one is there.
Oh, gorgeous.
Now we start to get into those wide-angle shots, which is, we mentioned earlier, the wide angle is what this camera can do really, really well.
Yeah.
That big sensor allows it to do really nice wide-angle shots. So this is over in the US Monument Valley. So this is shooting through Monument Valley and some various things here. Now we start to get in some of those, you know, wide-angle dusk shots. You get your action shots.
Look at the detail in his wings, his feathers.
Oh, it's
like
great.
Gorgeous.
Here's your high-speed action shot. So we would have seen this one at the video at the top of the hour where the eagle comes swooping in.
Yes.
So you're shooting at 6 frames a second using 39 points of autofocus. So the camera, as I mentioned earlier, can see in 3 dimensions and can track objects in 3 dimensions.
Wow.
So as the eagle comes in, you put the camera on the eagle and half press the shutter button. It'll lock him in, and as he moves across the frame, it'll keep him in focus. The little focus points will move to track the eagle. And if you want, just hold down the shutter button and it'll just keep taking full shots of him each time.
Great.
The difference between a camera like this and a bridge camera or a compact camera is that every time it takes a shot, it re-meters and it re-autofocuses. So every shot is in focus.
Okay. So it won't just take one photo and then apply that same
settings to the next photo, the next photo.
It's constantly thinking for you.
Every shot, even when you're doing those high burst rates, is recalculated to do another shot.
Can we have a little look at the displays? Because this is something that, you know, if you are going to be like me and you just get it out of the box. Oh, actually, we need to update you. Should we do that now? 46973, a couple more have just gone. I should mention we don't have a whole lot of cameras in stock tonight because we're not able to source that many right now at this time of the year from Nikon. The D610 is the DSLR camera with the 24 to 85 mil lens there. $28.99 today, $600 saving. 8 months of part payments as well. So, of course, interest-free. You do always have your 30-day money-back guarantee here at TVSN. But when it comes to a camera, I think it is one of the smartest ways to buy because it means that you've got 30 days, not just to look at it, not just to have a look and feel what it feels like in your hand. Pop your SD card in, get out there, get snapping. You can do it as easily as, you know, as I did with setting it onto autofocus, and then you're starting to see results. And then, honestly, I wish I had it for another few days because once I saw what it could do, I couldn't actually sleep. I was trying to go to sleep thinking, what else could I do? I could have done the stars for a whole hour. Imagine how that would have looked. And I went onto YouTube and people have done amazing stuff with this. I put in Nikon D610 into YouTube. There was a guy that had shot only about 27 minutes, but he was in an area where there wasn't much light pollution. And the stars, I could have watched it forever. It just went around. They're just incredible. So there's a whole community of people that are loving this camera and that want to share their experiences, their photos with people like you. So if you're like me and you're just starting out, maybe you're a little bit scared of the DSLR. Firstly, Nikon's got a great website, right?
We do My Nikon Life.
Okay.
So mynikonlife.com.au is where the Australian Nikon community all gathers together and teams up and shares ideas.
And professionals along with hobbyists, along with amateurs, like
all
just starting
together.
out. So you can see photos that people have created. They'll tell you how they've done them. It's kind of like the magicians revealing their secrets as well. But also, if there's something like, for example, I decided that I wanted to take photos after seeing a shot on there of smoke, of incense smoke, and you can get a light from the side and it makes the most beautiful shape.
Yeah.
So things like that. It's this community of people that just want to live life at a higher level. Like they just want to live with vibrant colour and be creative. And sometimes it's about the little everyday moments, isn't it? About capturing things like this. But suddenly once they're still and they're out there and they're enlarged, we go, isn't the world an amazing place? That's what this can do for you. It's a fresh eye on the world.
You know what I love is that you're standing there quite happily with one hand waving that around.
Yeah, I was meant to show you.
In your enthusiasm, you're just going, this is great. So it's not big, it's not heavy, it's usable. And you're of slight frame, is one way to put
Diminutive.
it. Diminutive.
Kylie-like is what we like to say, I think.
That's right. That's another one. She's a small one.
She's
so
pocket rocket.
Go.
Let's have a look here though. Now this is your little control hub, right?
That's your major control wheel up here. So we've always got full auto, which is green to go.
Yep.
And then so that's where the camera will just take all the information it's got and do a great exposure for you.
Yep.
And then you can start to add extra little information to that. So we've got auto, and then after that we've got the no flash. So no flash would be in a couple of museums.
Yes.
They don't like flashes. Sleeping babies, they don't like flashes.
School theatre.
School theatres, they don't like flashes.
Yep. Gymnastics.
They don't like flashes.
Musicals.
They don't like flashes.
Starlight Express doesn't like flash photography.
Tennis.
Tennis.
They don't like flashes.
Yes,
so there's a number of places that don't like flashes. This is a good setting for those people.
So that is that. Now, one of the other things I wanted to point out, because if you're not used to using a viewfinder, maybe you're used to a compact, a point and shoot. This is what I do. I press this little button here, LV.
Live view.
And so that will basically take, instead of looking through the viewfinder and getting the image, I can see it here, which is what I liked when I was trying to work out what shot I wanted.
Yep.
Particularly of stars.
If it's on a tripod and stars, this is generally a good way to go.
Okay.
And
then I could see my little shot there, which is not my best work, I have to say. But, okay, so that's the no flash. And then tell me about the scene modes.
So we go into the scene modes, and as soon as you get into scene modes on the back of the camera, just turn live view off for a second here.
Yes, sir.
And
what have I done?
One more. That's right. Just press it once more time there.
Okay.
And then move the wheel up here, left and right. And one more. Now it'll start to wake up into its scene mode. So this is blossom, autumn, food, silhouettes,
and then it gives you different settings along the way. So if you wanted to tweak them, you could.
Yep.
Okay.
Then you've got high key, low key, portrait, landscape. Child, action, macro is the next one, and then you've got child, portrait,
sports.
There's sports.
There's the macro.
Then macro. Then night landscape with portrait, and then night landscape without portrait.
Yep.
Indoor party mode, which is indoor with a flash but high action with the red eye reduction.
Yep.
You got beach and snow. You've got separate settings for sunrise and sunset.
Yep.
And you've got the pet setting in there.
Oh, we'll love that here at TVSN.
So the pet setting's really funny to play with. So it's very sharp. It captures all the fur and all the details.
And
but it also face detects cats and dogs.
Isn't that great?
So when a cat or dog looks at it, it automatically focuses on their face. So it's a change to the face detection algorithm to allow it to look for animals rather than humans.
So it sees that animals are people too.
Animals are people too.
Which is what we've all known for a very long time. Okay, so you've got also candlelight there, and then we're back to blossom as well.
And then
we did actually have a question about the night landscape.
Yep.
This is from Shepard. Now, Shepard has written to say, night landscape, is that a new feature for Nikon DSLR cameras?
No, it's been around for about 2 generations we've had night landscape in there, but it's something they continually work on and make better with every iteration.
Okay. Another question also about, can you set the colour temperature with the D610? What is colour temperature and can we set it?
So the answer is yes.
Okay.
Colour temperature is, if you think about white.
Yes.
This is white, but if I've got a yellow light on it, it will appear yellow.
Right.
I want to tell the camera, it looks yellow, but make it white. So you can set the temperature, what we call the colour temperature, so that no matter what the lighting, this will always come out white.
As a true white. And then Shepard's gone on to say, if so, what would the colour temperature for the night sky be, say, at midnight?
So for the night sky at midnight, and this is what most people do, if you ask most people what colour is night,
yes,
they will tell you it's black.
Right.
It's not. It's blue.
Okay.
It just happens to be in shadow. So it's exactly the same night, it's exactly the same sky as it is during the day, it's just in shadow, so it's a little darker blue. So to get started with night photography, the easiest way is throw the camera on a tripod, probably put it into either full sunlight in the white balance or maybe even a dusk mode, and then shoot on an f8 setting for about 8 seconds, and you'll instantly get this royal indigo blue just pop right out.
Okay.
And you'll just go, hang on, my world has changed. It's
the way we see the night.
And that's what it is. So you can start to get, but that's for night. it's F8, 8 seconds is the perfect place to start, and then everything changed from there.
Great. I hope that helps you, Shepherd. Now we've got about 4 minutes left in the show, Tim.
Really?
Yes.
Where's the time go?
Are there any movies? Can we have a little look at a movie?
We're going to skip through a couple of things here. Special effects, black and white, de-lighting happening for you there, vivid. Here is time lapse by one of the professional photographers.
Right, you can say it.
Oh,
wow.
So once again, this is still at Monument Valley, and you've got that lovely time lapse coming across there.
Great.
Here's my time lapse going out of the office window at work.
Yep.
Just all the clouds coming through and this elevator ripping up and down over here.
Oh yeah, true. Look at this.
And then I've got another one here, if it'll come up for me. This is the other view out of the window at work. Yeah. So this I ran all day for time lapse, doing exactly what you said. I just run.
Yes.
And I deliberately ran it till its battery ran out, which was about 9 hours.
Oh, wow.
So I got in really early in the morning and sat it up, and you can see that the clouds start to come through.
Yeah.
What's really nice about that, if the camera runs to exhaustion, it makes sure it's shut down nicely, writes all its files out, protects itself, does all those sorts of things.
So you wouldn't lose all of that.
You don't lose any information as it goes along. So you've got everything in there that you'd want in the time lapse. Now, traditional movies, like we've talked about time-lapse movies, but traditional movies are just as easy to make.
Yep.
It's just point and shoot.
In fact, there's a designated button, right?
There is.
The movie button, so you could do that straight away.
Put it into live view, and straight on the back you'll see...
this little red button up here.
Yep. And we'll start to record. Oh, face detection working there. There you go. Hello. So you can see that it's automatically looking for me no matter where I go.
Yep.
That's the smarts of the system we talked about earlier working for us. So it's going to hold me in focus wherever I go in the scene detection. Now it can hold up to 16 faces in focus simultaneously, and whichever is the foremost face is the one that will be in sharpest focus.
Wow, really? So okay, great. So
I've seen a demonstration where they've got a whole line of people, and then one person keeps stepping forward, and the camera keeps jumping and grabbing these people.
Isn't
and
that
looking.
Great?
So it'll always grab the furthest face at the front and go, that's the one I'm after.
And then, of course, you've got the manual settings there, the aperture, the shutter, and the programmed auto too. Or program manual, I should say. There's also these 2 user settings.
2 user settings. Get on the internet, start experimenting. You find out a thing you want to do, a certain way you want to shoot. Program it into the user settings, it's now yours and it's there at the click of a button. Underneath this, we've got all our different release modes. So at the moment it's set on single.
Yes.
But then you've got continuous low.
Okay.
I'll just spin these around here. Continuous low, continuous high, quiet mode for when you're sneaking up on those babies. Quiet continuous for fast-moving sleeping babies. A timer mode, which is the old, point and run to get in the photo.
Yeah.
Remote, so that you can stand in the photo and press it with an infrared remote.
I think that's on the website too, right?
The remote is on the website.
Yes,
this camera is also compatible with the Nikon, I can't. I've lost the words.
The wireless?
The wireless system.
Great.
So you can plug the wireless adapter in it, so you can download
we
immediately.
might give you the details now, actually, on that, because this is the way that you can... I love this wireless thing. I can't talk about it highly enough. You pop that in, you basically set up your own little wireless network. So you're able to transfer your photos from your camera to something like a smartphone, smart tablet, and of course within that time, I've done it while I'm driving, hands-free, officer, but it means that those photos have been, while I've arrived at the studio, the photos are already uploaded to my smartphone there for you too. Now, Rodney's emailed in. Quick question, how suitable is this camera and the autofocus system for motorsport and sports?
So you've got a 35-point autofocus system, 9 of which are cross-type autofocus, which means anything that's towards the middle is going to be locked right in.
Yep.
But the other thing is, if you want, you can get the really big telephoto lenses if you want to go that way, or the 2.8 lenses.
Yep.
And you can put teleconverters on there. Every time you put a teleconverter on, it reduces the lens effective aperture down, and it really makes autofocus systems struggle.
Right.
But this is certified autofocus out to f8.
So it will do that for you.
So it means it's as good in autofocus as any professional camera out there.
So the
almost.
answer is yes.
Big
and of
thumbs
course
up.
you've got your 30-day money-back guarantee, plus your part payments as well. So do you know what? Spread that cost. Break it into half our stock's gone. 46973. So what I was going to say, Rodney, break it into those interest-free part payments, and that way you can actually try it out and decide what you think yourself. $28.99, $600 saving, 8 months of part payments there as well. It's gone very quickly, hasn't it? We could have done 2 hours on this. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now stay tuned, more great shopping coming up after the break. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Emma.
Good night.
Good night.
to ultimate relaxation with Life Power. With 6 unique programs, the Life Power massage chair is the pinnacle of home massage. Relax, unwind and revitalize with Life Power.